It is time for me to make my video. In the past week, I have been doing just like I recommended. I've been doing meditation every day to make sure that I stay out of trouble so that the Gail shield stays strong. I did start getting rid of some items where I had duplicates, but the weather has been very bad. I mean, very cold. So let me see if I can get a little bit of light here. So I've been doing it gradually, and like most of the changes that I've had to make have been more in my head, because I did a pretty good job of getting rid of a lot of the hoard. So it's been mostly just having to take a new approach to hoarding and making sure that I don't have the fear scarcity mindset when I decide what to buy, what to keep, and that sort of thing. When I go into meditation, I wait till I get calm and till I get in a joyful, thankful mode, and then I try to make decisions. Because Baphomet specializes in putting obsessions into me, and once I get into obsessive territory, then he can get me. I'm finding one of the most effective things that I need is I need to get over fear of death. Yeah. Because think about it, probably the worst thing that could happen to me or to Brent is we would die, right? Okay? Baphomet, fear of death can be a very effective tool in Baphomet's arsenal. You say, what do you mean? Well, why did he give me an obsession about taking my bodily temperature? It was based on fear of death. It's like, I got to make sure I'm not running a fever. This could get serious. I could get pneumonia. You see what I'm saying? If I would just get over the fear of death, then it would be a lot harder for him to put obsessions into me. As a result of what happened about a week ago, where Satan and Baphomet almost killed my husband because my Gail shield went down to 0. Basically, they're trying to do it in a manner to make it look like I am as evil as they are. And that's the reason I couldn't keep my husband alive. And what they did was, I was having effective meditation, so they determined that the best way to get me was to play on the fears that any normal person would have. First, they used Shakpona to convince me that I was sick. And then once they convinced me that I was sick, that's when they gave me the obsession with my bodily temperature, so that I ended up buying a thermometer, which probably put a spell on me, so that I ended up convinced that I needed to use Kroger delivery, the Kroger delivery from hell. And then that's when my Gail shield went down to 0. You say, that's a hard fear to get over. It is, but really to get victory over Baphomet's ability to give you obsessions, you basically need to overcome fear of death. That's what I've concluded. This doesn't mean we're suicidal, but it just means if you are in right standing with God, in other words, if you're doing your best to live a righteous life, then don't see death as something that you need to dread. See it as a transition. That's one of the reasons I took my mother's passing so well, because she basically had a painless transition. It was almost like she was raptured. And I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen to me, but the thing is, having a fear of death is something that Baphomet can use to manipulate us into obsessions. If I didn't have a fear of death, I wouldn't have been worried that I was sick. Think about it. I mean, if you're sick, the worst that could happen is you'll die, right? Well, if you're not worried about it, then they can't give you an obsession. You might say, well, we should be. You say, why do you have to be worried about it? Is it going to help you get over your illness? In fact, worrying about it might make it worse. To be honest with you, I'm still coughing, and I'm gradually getting over whatever I had. And there are times when I feel like I feel like I might have a fever. But hey, man, what I'm going through is nothing compared to what my husband went through. And I told myself, you know what? There's something a lot worse than dying. And that is to know that you were so worried about dying or getting sick that you allowed Baphomet to manipulate you to sin so that they could kill your husband and make it your fault because your Gail shield went down to 0. At least if you knew you did your best to keep the Gail shield strong, even if you died, you could go in peace. So right now, I've kind of changed my goals. I've decided survival is not my #1 goal. Because, hey, I look at it this way. Unless something unusual happens, like what happened to my mother, where she was transitioned, we're all going to die. I mean, it's inevitable. It can't be avoided. It's the fate of all of us. So since this is inevitable, your goal in life should not be to avoid the inevitable. Our goal in life should be that when the inevitable happens, we can go in peace. So those are my new goals. And as a result of my new goals, I will not be getting a thermometer. My husband is still humping on me, so the Gail shield is apparently strong enough that Baphomet and Shakpona cannot enter my apartment. But guess what? In the past week, I've written 3 stories. I'm going to town on the Gail series. I look at it this way: if my story gets out there, and Baphomet and Shakpona and my evil psychopath sister succeed in killing me, everyone's going to know who did it and why. You know, I have a fascinating history. I am descended from the Oshu Fujiwara family in Japan. What's really sad is that very few people even know who they are. And that's where I get my Catherine the Great gene. So I just wrote a story where everybody's going to know who they are now. They were the children of Vladimir the Great of Russia, who lived around 1000 AD. They fled Russia because Sviatopolk was a power-hungry, treacherous child of Vladimir the Great. He took the throne as soon as he learned his father died. And then he arranged to have the rightful heir to the throne murdered, even though that rightful heir gladly gave Sviatopolk the throne. He said, I'll give it to you. You don't have to. I don't want to fight you. It goes against my religious beliefs. I don't want bloodshed in Russia. Go ahead and have the throne, Sviatopolk. But Sviatopolk murdered Boris and Gleb anyway, just to be sure his hold on power was secure. And you see, very few people know that story. The Russians know it. My ancestors came from those children, the ones who were willing to give their life rather than have bloodshed in Russia. In fact, the last ruler of the Oshu Fujiwara family was oh goodness, she just gave me amnesia, but I just wrote a story about it. He was Fujiwara no Yasuhira. He was a very devout Buddhist, and he didn't believe in war. So he didn't really mount a defense against a power-hungry man named Yoritomo, who was a Genji military leader, who wanted northern Japan because of the gold. You see, my Buddhist ancestors built Buddhist temples in northern Japan made out of pure gold. Yeah, and they didn't believe in war. At least the last one didn't. Yeah, they made a Japanese miniseries about them. What's really sad is that Yasuhira literally died for his convictions. He didn't believe in war. So he said Yoritomo, when Yoritomo took advantage of an opportunity because there was betrayal in the family and came to conquer northern Japan, he willingly tried to escape to the north so that Yoritomo could have an easy takeover so that there wouldn't be war and bloodshed. And my ancestor's retainer decapitated him in order to save his own life and offered the head to Yoritomo. And history has written that Yasuhira was a disgraceful leader, and that he was evil, and that he didn't willingly, relinquish his country in order to honor his Buddhist beliefs. So I decided I wanted to incorporate that into one of the stories that I wrote that I already finished. So anyways, I come from ancestors who are not power mongers, okay? Yes, we've had to execute some people as world leaders because it's unfortunately, we had to do it in self-defense. But basically all I've wanted to do is just be a great lover. But because I have the genes of Catherine the Great and King David, I'm targeted. And that's basically what my life story is about. And it's why my men are targeted. And our enemies try to make it look like we're as evil as they are. And they try to excuse the real reasons why they want to kill us. They want to kill us because we're in their way. Satan wants world power. He wants to get control over this earth. And I guess he feels he needs to make me look as evil as he is, and my husband, Brent. And that's why, yeah, I've already written 3 stories. And I have some more. I'm right now exposing my sister because I think she was part of the plot to try to kill my husband. And he's a hero. What he went through was, nobody should have to go through that. Just because he loves me. So anyways, it is time for me to make my video. Watch 00 on cable. I hear that Orson Scott Card is one of the screenwriters, along with Melinda Snodgrass, working on the Gail series. From what I understand, I think he's been talking to me brain to brain. He told me that the work that I have done on this story, in his opinion, is the greatest writing he's ever read. You might say, how did you pull it off? I'm not doing this to be famous. Buddha told me and Brent, that we would defeat the Jesuits. And I assumed that meant we wouldn't be killed. I no longer assume that anymore. So I'm really eager to get my story out. Maybe the victory will happen after we're killed, because my story will become even more powerful as a martyr. That's why I'm writing it, and that might be why it's so powerful. My sister is not a good person right now. And so I just wrote a story that exposes her psychopath heart and why I feel she turned out that way. My mother basically they say people are born psychopaths. I don't know. I will admit I've never seen genuine empathy in my sister ever, the whole time that I've known her. But I hear that even a psychopath can be trained to at least act with empathy, even if they don't feel it in their heart. With her, my mother never really trained her to be empathic, because my mother was a narcissist. So, yeah, I am writing the stories because I want to be able to die in peace. They may succeed in taking me or my husband out, but they will pay if my story goes out there. And if I can pass in peace, they lose. So, you might want to go check Gabriel Chana, Fox News 00 on cable to see the latest work. From what I understand, the writing is so powerful that I think we're sweeping the Academy Awards. They're giving us awards like for the best movie in all of world history, something like that, or best production in all of world history, the best writing of all time. That's how powerful the writing is. When your motive for writing something is knowing that you could die and that the outcome for good or evil depends on your story, you can write something pretty powerful. So that's what I'm doing. Anyways, it is time for my weekly video. I will continue my meditation. I will continue to stay calm and not fear death. I think that's one of the biggest secrets to getting over obsessions. Most obsessions are based on fears. And usually the worst thing that we think could happen to us is death. So if you get over that fear, that really helps a lot with obsessions, right? So anyways, you all have a great week. As you can tell, I haven't been taking my temperature, but I do seem to be getting better, so I guess it doesn't matter whether I have a fever or not if I feel okay, right? I'm still coughing, but I'm getting better. I have faith in the good forces of the universe. I will do the Gail commandments to the best of my ability, and I will keep my husband alive to the best of my ability. Nobody is taking my husband from me.
In a world of secrets, where darkness reigns, there's a warrior rising, breaking free from chains. She's Gail Schuler, her heart pure and strong. With the power of love, she'll right the world's wrongs. Yeah, fighting against the devil in order. She's the first, a passionate crusader. Stand by the side, they'll conquer it all. Through space battles and trials, they'll never